Here's a little update on the Poor Ol Credenza that was down in the shop that I've started disassembling, and after getting it down to the shell and looking it over real good, I thought that maybe I could just experiment with it and put it back together. If you remember the veneer on the side over here, and it's a little dark over here, but I've replaced a strip of veneer all the way up the side of the machine and glued everything back down and put a light coat of varnish on it, and it looks presentable. It look alright if it was sitting in a dark corner, as it should be. And this side I also have gone through and fixed. I had to put a whole new piece of veneer in here. The veneer pieces I got from the inside of the old doors. It was peeling off pretty good, and went ahead, and since I had enough veneer, I redid the top of it, which the top turned out really well. I had to replace veneer all the way from here back, so everything, you can see, barely see the seam from there back is removed from one of the doors, and I glued it down to the top. And I'm in the process of putting coats of varnish on. I'm on coat number 4 or 5, I think, and I've still got some steel wooling to do and several more coats to get some of this grain out. I should have put a sealer on it, but it's too late for that. But the old Credenza is looking pretty good, and I have since come up with doors, and these doors match perfectly, except that the hinges are a little bit out of place. I'll have to readjust the hinges, but I have now got a set of doors for it, and that even makes me want to work on it even farther. You can see I haven't glued the veneer on the front yet, so I need to tilt it on its back yet and glue that down. But I was excited to get these doors because this actually completes the machine except for the feet. I'll have to either have some turned or find a set someplace. But these doors fit perfectly. And the finish matches perfectly, so it was the same kind of wood. And I don't know whether I'm going to strip the rest of it now that I've got the lid done. It's so nice and shiny. And I tried to match up the stain colors as best as I could without. Victor used a spray lacquer or varnish that had a tint to it, and that's what all these, after they get the varnish or the stain in place, when they start to varnish it, they varnish it and then they come back with a darker spray and spray all these areas around the edge, and that's why it's lighter in the center and it's darker around the corners. And I tried to duplicate that on the lid, which is next to impossible just by using stain. But while I was picking up these doors, I've got some more projects to do. I picked up another Credenza. This one's in a lighter wood, and it needs the top completely re-veneered. I started scraping a little bit of this off last night just to see what was underneath. I think I can get that off clean and put a nice piece of veneer on top. I'll have to go down to Schutt's lumber yard. I don't know what veneer costs nowadays, but this one's in pretty good condition. It has all of its feet. It looked like it had been refinished at one time, maybe back in the 70s. And it's got a few little beat marks on it. Here's a splinter in the back. It's coming up, and then there's a few more marks over here on the side. Here's a little area that I'm going to have to put some attention into, and it's missing a piece of veneer back here. I could probably just blend that in with some stain, since most of the time one of these will sit into a corner. So I've got that one to work on as well. All the internal parts are there, except for the reproducer, of course. And then I've got number 3 to work on, and this one is going to definitely need a complete stripping and revarnishing. As you can see, there's a lot of loss. Looks like it sat in a damp place or out in the garage, or maybe got caught in a rainstorm at one time. So it's going to need a complete stripping. And it too is complete except for the reproducer. Both of these are electric. And that one I was planning on making electric, but I think I'll find a 4-spring motor and dip back into that one. So 3 Credenzas to work on. I'm down here in the garage trying to decide which one to start on next. I think the lid on this one I'm going to put on the one in the house because it's actually in better shape than the one that was in the house. And the one that was in the house I brought down because I still have a piece of veneer right here. Turn the light on real quick. This came off of the inside of the door, and here's the hole for the doorknob. And I've made the cut already because this lid had a bad patch right here, and you can kind of see some bad area right here. Of course, I don't have a wide enough piece of veneer to go that far, so I'm just going to butt that up there, and I'll do the same thing as I did on this lid, which turned out okay. This time I'm going to get a sealer for the wood, but I'm stripping off veneer still, and how I'm doing that is with an iron. I get a wet paper towel and lay on here and let that soak in and soften the wood up, and then I take that steam iron and set it on here, which pushes steam everywhere, and I have to take a putty knife and just scrape it back, and I go along the edge here. I've already taken a box knife and slid along here so that when I get over here it comes off cleanly against the edge. So I'll be working on that probably today. And this will be a lid that will either go on this or that one. Those two woods match. So I don't have a hinge on this, so I guess we can just set this aside. I suppose we should play a record, huh?
Disappointed in you, you got me worried and blue, wondering if there's somebody new. You made me love you, and yet you tried to make me forget, but I just couldn't forget feeling the way I do. The other night you said good night, but tell me when you said good night, did you really mean goodbye? Did you really mean goodbye? The other night you made me feel so happy, the very next night you made me cry. I telegraphed and telephoned to tell you I was all alone, but you didn't send a sign. Did you really realize when lovers part, it makes the heart grow fine?